Welcome to Let's Talk Land, weekly talk show devoted to learning about land and farms, buying and selling, and ownership. Learn from the experts. Hello, my name's Lou Jewell. I'm an accredited land consultant, broker, owner of United Country Real Estate Land Pro franchise. Our office is at 3349 Cook School Road in Pilot Mountain, North Carolina, on Highway 52, exit 136, across from Foothills Hardware and Building Supply. We share office space with POP Design for all your graphic needs. Our company website is www.mylandpro.com. I'm a member of the Realtors Land Institute, the Voice of Land. We have around 1,300 members nationwide, approximately 500 ALCs, accredited land consultants like myself. Agents that become an RLI member are the best in the business because they get access to exclusive continuing education and networking opportunities, property marketing tools, and discounts on our industry services. If you're looking for an agent in your area, you can find a RLI member or an accredited land consultant using the Find a Land Consultant tool on our homepage on our website, and the website is www.rliland.com. As a United Country franchise owner, we offer more than 90 years of real estate experience. Since 1925, United Country Real Estate has matched buyers and sellers with lifestyles property of their dreams. Our unmatched network features over 600 offices and over 5,000 agents nationwide. And our national website is www.unitedcountry.com, which averages about 3.5 million hits a month, and buyer database actively of around 650,000. We also offer a full range of auction services with over 3,000 vertical websites targeting local markets, and we're the premier real estate and auction company devoted to rural markets. Our guest today is David Light. Welcome, David.
Well, thank you, Lou.
David is the publisher and co-founder of Open Fences Magazine, recognized as a premier national real estate magazine. It's a progressive publication that is always adapting to the dynamic marketplace it serves, while bringing together buyers and sellers through top quality licensed brokers and agents who represent the finest ranches, farms, equestrian estates, hunting and fishing properties nationwide. Most recently, David has been involved in creating the county's first land broker co-op that we're going to talk about today, David. Born in southern England, David moved to the United States in 1991. By 1996, he had entered the world of publishing, where he found a niche in real estate publishing market in around 2000. He oversees all aspects of the publishing and is in constant contact with advertising clients, brokers like myself, and most importantly, the readers. Combined with a strong background in equestrian and a bidding love for the land, David is a unique position that affords access to a singular perspective of and rural real estate market coast to coast. David lives on the coast of Maine with his wife and 2 young boys. And Open Fences media company is focused on the premier real estate market by Coffee Table Quality Magazine and, of course, their website to back it up. It defines the open doors, removing boundaries and making connections. Their goal is to unite buyers with the most distinguished brokers in today's premier real estate market. And welcome, David. And I want to talk about your background a little bit and about your publication, because it is, I think, probably the finest real estate magazine out there. It's my opinion.
Well, I appreciate that, Lou. Thanks.
So how did you get into all this?
Well, I don't think you have enough time for that story, but basically I got into the publishing business back in 2001. I was living on the East Coast, just outside of New York, and we were heading cross country and right on 9/11, actually, on the George Washington Bridge. And by the time we got to the West Coast, the market and the job situation had changed drastically. So I decided to do something I was interested in rather than just go the usual route, and took a few risks and ended up starting the Open Fences publication about 9 years ago. And that's gone real well, and that's parlayed into the various websites, and most recently into the Land Broker Cooperative.
Well, what's going on in the magazine market? Market keeps changing. I know with United Country, they push us real hard on social media. Of course, we do the other thing. Of course, we publish a catalog. real estate catalog. It's actually, my understanding, is the first one's ever published. I think it was in 1928. Land and Farms for Sale in the Kansas area, and it's in the Smithsonian Institute. It's the, I believe, first real estate catalog. So
that is correct. Yeah, I know that story well, and it was a long time before anybody else did anything about it, too. You kind of had to space yourself a very long time, and that's pretty indicative of United Country. Tend to be on the cutting edge a little bit when it comes to the marketing side, most recently technology and social media, which is kind of what we're focusing on a lot at the moment, too. And the magazine is very strong. It really has been since our first issue. We've been very fortunate, and being able to sort of build that and into something that's become sort of just part of the process now for a lot of brokers. I think print is really, it won't be too long, probably 5 to 10 years, there'll be less options for print because things more and more go to the web.
right.
But at the end of the day, especially on the higher end, the print is still necessary. It's still very effective. And a lot of sellers really, particularly like to see their properties in print. So that's served us well over the years.
Sure. What's your circulation running now?
30,000 minimum. We actually do a little bit more than that, but we guarantee 30,000 per quarter. So yes, 4 times a year. We do a little extra in the winter. We do a lot of the big shows and events in the winter, and some international shows and events. So we print a few overseas as well, just to save on the shipping.
I know that you guys have been, and this is how I established our relationship, David, many, many years ago through the Realtors Land Institute. And, even when you were with Farm and Ranch Magazine prior to this, and obviously now, you've always been a great supporter of our members and attend all of our events, our major events, our national events. I saw you in Charlotte back in March, and always a great time to be with you.
Yeah, we've spent an awful lot of money supporting RLI over the years, and it's been worth every penny, and made a lot of really wonderful friends. It's always good to get together with people face to face, and certainly when you can go somewhere and see, 200-300 of them at once,
Yeah, I
it
know.
saves a lot of time on airplanes too, which I appreciate.
I wish it was longer sometimes.
Organization.
Yeah. I wish it was longer sometimes. Just don't get a chance to spend the quality time that you would like to with some of your old buddies. But
Yeah, it's a busy time, but productive, and that's what's important, I guess.
absolutely. I just wanted to. There was a couple of things on your website that were kind of testimonials. If you don't mind, I thought they were really good. One person, I assume it was a buyer, but Open Fences has been a tremendous asset for our $50 million ranch in Northeast Florida. I mean, that must have been some type of ranch.
It was, and a heck of a good buy. It actually, it was four properties netted together as one, and it's very transitional, some of it, and close to pretty good size city in Florida, and it could run a lot of pairs, a lot of calf operation set up there. It had a good amount of timber. It had a bit of everything going on.
Right.
It was like a land portfolio in one property, and very special.
Was any of our RLI members involved in that transaction? Do you know?
I don't know. I think perhaps Dean Saunders was involved in one of the sections.
Right.
That sold, but honestly, I'm not. It was a couple of years ago now, and my age, that's too big an ask, I'm afraid.
I understand. I'll be 69 in July. It goes fast. But
Yes, it does.
Dean Saunders is also one of our superlatives in RLI, and I'm going to have him on. He's quite the guru in conservation easements. He was a legislator in
there's not
Florida.
much he doesn't know about the land business. That's whether it's citrus, or cattle. I mean, he's put together the largest land deal ever put together in Florida.
Yeah.
It's something Dean was very instrumental in. So.
Wasn't that over 300? Wasn't that over 300 million or something crazy?
It was. It was. Yeah, it was real close to that.
Yeah.
I think it was just a hair under, but it was a very significant. It was 500,000 acres.
Rodney, that's one.
Sold to the LDS Church, and that was a very complex deal, and that's what he does best. And actually, Dean is one of the people that drove this creation of this land broker cooperative, and has been very instrumental in making that happen for the industry, along with 26 other companies around the country that have got together and partnered up with us through some acquisitions, and taken one of our websites, which is the landbrokermls.com site, and has turned it over to the industry as a cooperative, which was very generous because they don't own any of it anymore. They just passed it on, and now they have a membership, and they're a cooperative member, therefore an owner, and they get a vote just like everybody else that joins. In an attempt to reclaim that space in the industry.
Right.
It's become very corporate and very profit-driven, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's kind of got away from the brokers, and the quality of eyeballs is very important to the broker. It's not so much about the number. It's really about where are these people who can move the needle.
Sure.
And they just wanted to have a say in how these things are presented, and how best to put properties like this in front of the right people, so that the consumer, the buyers, the sellers out there, that you and me, if we're in the market, can get direct access to the best information without any of the flashing lights and banners, and it's just pure listings and information, and they have their own board of directors they vote on every year. That's just beginning, and they get to control it and make sure that quality is where it needs to be.
Right. Well, you guys do a heck of a job. Here was another one that said, "Thank you so much for featuring our 821-acre Last Frontier Ranch on Open Fences. The response has been fantastic in the first week of the issue, and I've all but given up on the magazine advertising, but I'm really glad we gave it another try. I'll continue to use your medium for our Colorado Mountain properties. Many thanks."
Yep, that's what we try to do every day.
I hear you.
You want as many happy endings as you can get.
Well,
that's the business we're in.
And then there was another one that said, "Open Fences is my window to the U.S. market, and the team has been a wonderful resource in connecting me with the fine brokers who assist me in successful search." So this was from a buyer's side, I guess.
Well, Lou, I think a lot of times we find a lot of our readers subscribe to the magazine because they're keeping an eye on the market. They use it as an education tool as well. They may have already bought, say, a couple thousand acres in Montana that they get to 4 times a year and hunt on or recreate, fish, run cattle on, whatever it is that they do. And they want to know how that investment is doing. They want to look and see what's come on the market around them. There's a lot of trading up, sometimes trading down if they've bitten off a bit too much. And so the magazine has become really part of the process of monitoring the market at the high end, as well as obviously driving decisions on who shall I sell with. Which brokers are giving good exposure to their clients. That's a big driver as well.
Exactly. We're talking to David Light today. This is Lou Jewell with Let's Talk Land. So, David, let's talk about this new cooperative. It's called Land Broker Co-op. What's that all about? Because that was introduced at the RLI National Convention in Charlotte in the 1st of April, and I think we got quite a few people to sign up. I did, but I don't know what I signed up for. Help me out.
That sounds about right, Lou.
I just wanted one of those stickers.
A lot of signs. We actually, at that event, we signed up half of the participants.
Wow.
It's being very heavily driven just by market changes in the land business from a brokerage standpoint.
Okay.
And those roll down to the sellers and the buyers.
Right.
And we found ourselves in this industry in a situation where a monopoly had really been formed by a very large, very successful company out of Washington, D.C. that had acquired the 3 large sites in the land space. And like anybody who's controlling the market, that affects the price, and the prices started going up for folks, and they were going up a lot, 2 to 10 times what they paid previously. So that sent a bit of a ripple through the industry, and it kind of drove people to, the commercial space, realizing what's happened there, and the price increases over the last few years that have just been tremendous. And that was what was coming to this space.
Okay.
So it was a reaction to that, that it's, brokers can't be healthy in their business and maintain commission rates without having, putting up commission rates to pay your marketing bills isn't really a solution. It shouldn't be passed down to the consumer.
Right.
So it was just going to be a problem, and that drove the need for something that could provide good quality clients, buyers and sellers, to put them in front of the brokers that have the listings that they're looking for. And like I said earlier, a lot of these sites, it's all flashing lights and banners and, we're the best, no, we're the best. And that really doesn't help the consumer. The consumer wants to go to a site and say, here's what I'm looking for. Show me what you got. They aren't really fussed about who we are, about our sections, and, they don't want to wade through a bunch of stuff to get to the listings. They just want to know, do you have what I'm looking for?
Right.
And the job of the site is to make sure that they've done a good job of recruiting the brokers that have the best listings, so they can say, yeah, we do. Here, take a look. And provide a service that they're going to want to come back to, the consumer would want to come back to, by just giving good, clean, honest information. And that's really what's driven this, the need for a preeminent site that is all about the listings. It's not just a sales pitch.
So we're
about the listings. So I think they've been very wise in doing this. And so far, that's played out in the numbers. Just an awful lot of brokers and agents have signed up for this cooperative. It's extremely inexpensive in comparison, and it'll be driving hundreds of thousands of, not hits, but visits a month here within the next 2 or 3 months. It's been heavily supported by a lot of the farm credits that, want consumers to have a nice, clean system to rely on. It's good for them. It's good for their business. So that's really the driver to it, I think.
So it's in the part of the presentation that's on the site, and it's really a nice site, by the way. It says that the co-op is launching its strategy by acquiring Land Brokers MLS. Was that just a group of guys, like a lot of the RLI guys and others that?
Yeah, about 24, 26 companies got together, and then they went out and raised the money, and they bought a controlling interest in my company.
Okay.
And then they took the website, Landbroker MLS, and then they immediately donated that back to the industry in the form of a co-op.
Wow.
So if let's say, Lou, you'd been one of the people who got involved and put up some money to make this happen,
Mm-hmm.
and I was a broker and I hadn't put up any money to make this happen, and we both joined the co-op, you and I would have exactly the same membership.
That's interesting.
You would have no benefit over that. This was done because they knew in the long run this was going to be a better deal for them. They needed to control their data, which is a very big thing,
Right.
that they would have lost control of, and needed to be sure that they were representing their properties correctly.
Yeah.
So it was a strategic long-term play for those guys, and they generously donated that straight to the industry.
Wow.
And that's where it sits, kind of out there by itself, owned by anyone who happens to be a member.
I love it because I spend a lot of money. We all do, especially in the land area, which is my specialty, land and farms. I sell houses too. I don't like to talk about it that much, but I do. I think most of us do. But not to mention the names, but $700 and some here, and then another $50 a county to have a banner, and then you do multiple sites. And I've been involved almost 30 years, David. And back in 2006. Recognizing that the sites that were out there, were lacking in content and searchability and other things. And I put a group of, I think there were 9 of us, my surveyor, my forester, one of my developer investors, and some others. And I hired a marketing company to build a website. You may have remembered back, I think it was 2006 or 7, we were in New Orleans, and the marketing company I hired, I said, I'm going to the National, which we used to have our RLI events at National, and I really like that we have our own thing now. But they had me make these buttons. It was called Land Pro Real Estate, I think, .com. And I spent 4 days, me and Dale Fulp, passing buttons out in the streets and everywhere we went. But when I got back, I'd already given them $40,000, and we had put it into a beta because I knew the conference was coming up. So I called some of my RLI buddies around the country and said, put your listings on here and tell me what you think about the site. Free, it's in beta right now. And I had probably 400 or 500 listings on there. And when I came back, they wanted another $20,000, and I pulled the contract out, and I said, that's not what we agreed to. And they said, by the way, you owe the marketing company another $5,000. I said, well, that was supposed to be included in the 40. And we just had this big tiss, and I basically just said, cram it, and issued my partner's
It's
K9s.
not an easy process, and it's a fast way to burn a whole bunch of money. And honestly, the advantage of it being a cooperative over a single-owned site is that nobody's getting rich off it.
Right.
Okay, so if there's money left over at the end of the year, it goes back to the members who are the owners. Or they can put it towards the following year if they want it. When you don't drive something to the bottom line, and with investors and spreadsheets and all the things that are necessary in a corporate setting, which is more what we're all used to, when you don't do that, you can make different choices. There's the real potential that a member of this website, who will be an owner, will be able to potentially, there'll be healthcare through this for its members.
That's interesting.
And we all know being self-employed, I'm self-employed, you're self-employed, it's a very tricky and expensive process to protect your family with healthcare, has been for a long, long time. And it's not getting any cheaper. So the idea of a policy through the co-op is very appealing. And errors and omissions insurance that all brokers and agents have to carry at discounts, and discounts on farm machinery and all sorts of things are being offered to the co-op once it hits a certain level of membership. So there'll be a lot of other benefits that brokers and agents will be able to glean out of this as time goes on, not just the listing site. But you can make decisions like bringing things in that don't add to the bottom line, but give value to both the consumers and to the members.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it doesn't make us any more money, because it's only going to go back to them anyway.
Right. Wow.
So it just gives you a real freedom to do a great job and have a cool product. And in about 6 weeks, when you go to the site again, you'll see some significant changes. TerraStride and HuntStand, 2 companies out there that are very involved in very high-level mapping.
Know them well.
Have got behind this product, and the TerraStride mapping software, part of that is being redesigned into a land search, and that'll be the consumer's experience. Will be entering in through mapping,
okay,
which is the future anyway.
Yep.
And that we're able to do that because of their support. So 4 to 6 weeks, when programmers tell you 4, you figure 6, and we'll have a very different user experience on this site, and that we're real excited about. I've tested it, and it's very slick.
Talking about this too on the current website, it says co-op members will also benefit from competitive prices in print publications such as yours, and they mentioned Land Broker Co-op and the Land Report, and then as well as additional exposure on the Wall Street Journal and MansionsGlobal.com and other landing sites such as Land Hub, our good friend Kevin May in California, and Luxury Land Real Estate sites. So I assume that we'll be expanding to make similar offers to other existing sites out there and hopefully bring them into the family.
Absolutely. I mean, like Kevin, you mentioned it, Land Hub. He's a perfect example of someone who's got behind this. They've offered a 30% discount to brokers if they have co-op members. The Wall Street Journal is included, and the Dow Jones site, Mansion Global, is included. There's a site in Europe that's included now, Rightmove. Those are all part of what you get, and all your listings are managed to those sites. You don't have to do anything about it. Once they're on this site, it takes care of it all for you. So it's a time saver for brokers as well, and allows them to spend more time working on the listings.
And this is
sold, get them listed.
David. This is
so that's a big part of it. And the magazine, we offer a $600 discount per spread to co-op members.
Wow, that's significant.
Significantly more than anything we would have ever considered doing before the co-op came along. But again, we have that option now. It's really a nice deal.
Wow, what a concept! This is very refreshing. You know, and this is a one input site, right? For example, you know, I'm in 3 MLSs. I'm in the Charlotte MLS, which reaches down to Columbia, South Carolina, and all the way to the tip of the western side of North Carolina. I don't know, probably half the state, and I think there's like 19,000 agents. And then I'm in the Winston-Salem regional, which is my backyard. And of course, I'm dual licensed in Virginia as well as North Carolina. So I'm in a small MLS up there where I have a lot of my land listings. And I have to sit there every time I get one and key punch into each of those 3 MLS sites. And then, of course, if you go to some of these other sites that I'm on, you got to do the same thing. And it's very time consuming. But being able...
It is time consuming, and you won't have to do that here. You'll put them on, and it will push those listings out or price change or whatever to all of the sites we mentioned, and more coming all the time. So it will be a one point of entry. It's not going to help you with your local MLSs, of course, but it will help you with the other industry sites, and already does in most cases.
So this is this isn't a menu of items. It's a one price, and you get all. Is that the way it's working?
Yep. There's no upsells, right? There's hey, if you send us another $50 a month, we'll do this for you. Anything that gets added is included. And
wow.
We have 2 people whose jobs are nothing but to go out and find ways to bring value to both the consumer, the buyer and the seller, on the front end, and to support the brokers on the back end, so they can do an even better job of bringing the right listings.
So this is like a one-time annual fee, right?
Yep, you can do it monthly, or it's a one-time annual fee.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's set up as an annual dollar amount.
It's equivalent of a month's worth of fees on the other sites. You're getting the same. What you're paying for a month, you're getting a year here. In most cases, if you have more than 30 listings, yep, it's actually cheaper to pay for 1 year than it is to pay for 1 month. So the idea is to, again, this isn't about trying to get as much value out of the brokers' pockets. That restricts, the more money the brokers have to spend on this type of advertising, the less other advertising they can do. So that, the less value they bring their clients. So creating something that gives them an open door to a lot of really qualified eyeballs at this kind of price allows them to increase their marketing footprint, rather than what's happening right now is they're having to pull back because they've got to pay this huge bill every month that they had never planned on. It's an expensive business to be in. I think people look at the commissions and go, wow, how much? But you might have a listing for a year. Some of these big listings sit around for 2, 3, 4.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
The really big ones. And then you'll get others that might go in the first 6 weeks, but it's not like the residential, it's not like the commercial market. And you got to pace yourself when it comes to your budgeting. And, suddenly everybody's hit with these huge bills, and it's throwing everything off. So this will give them that alternative where they can get back some control and do a correct and full marketing of a property over time.
We're talking to David Light. This is Lou Jewell with Let's Talk Land. So, David, this is a very exciting overview of this co-op. I'm definitely going to incorporate that in my marketing as soon as possible. because I see the benefits because I write the checks. Just one quick question. One of the websites I signed a 1-year contract with, okay? And they are part of this group. So do I get credit for the rest of the year, or how does that work? If you know,
I don't know what their policies would be on that. If if it was one of the big sites and you decided not to be there anymore, then you probably have to read the fine print. In my experience, when you get into that level of corporate, you sign something, they got you.
Well, no, I didn't sign anything. Just gave it's the old credit
Well,
card.
I think you're free to spend your money where you think it'll be most useful.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bottom line, right?
No, I can see.
Be, and that's what we're trying to create is something that there are no contracts. People can get in, they can get out if it's not working for them, and keeps us on our toes. If we don't have people sign contracts, we got to deliver every day. Otherwise, why should they have to pay us, right? So it's a slightly different attitude towards this particular industry, anyway.
Yeah.
It's so far paying off well.
Yeah, and I'm excited to watch it grow. I mean, just the mechanics of it and how the business is structured is very refreshing. I haven't really seen that as a business model, quite frankly.
Well, it doesn't exist in this space nationally or regionally. This is the only cooperative. Cooperatives are very common in the industry from other directions. A lot of farm cooperatives and
well, that's
buy
true.
their groceries at cooperatives occasionally, and banks, that lend on land. The farm credit system works rather like a cooperative, where you get your money back. You get a share of the profit,
Right.
Just like here. So it's not altogether. It was really more inspired by all of those things, and realizing that that's a great way to approach the market if you want to give the buyers and sellers, the consumers, the most direct quality information. Take out the profit, right? Deliver something where everybody's happy, and you got to make money to be able to stay in front, of course. But anything extra just goes on back to the members and the owners.
It's definitely a win-win format, isn't it?
So far, yes, and we haven't found any holes in it yet. But we're excited to be part of it and help bring it to the market.
Well,
but it's really driven by brokers and agents.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the heart and soul of it. We're just we have certain expertise and we're helping guide them through that process. But this is really driven by the Dean Saunders of the world and George Cliff in Texas and Harvey Properties in Paris, Texas, and Murphy's up there in Colorado. There's a lot of very successful, very influential regional brokers and agents that are making this possible for the industry.
Yeah, and I know every one of them.
Yep.
It's quite a group of talent there. Let's talk about the market right now. It's we in the land business, back and around. Well, I'll go back a little further. The middle of the 2000, 2004, 5, 6, like in there. It just kind of went crazy. Some of the land prices, especially in the recreational area around the country, and then the Farm Belt just went nuts. We go to a convention and say, what's land bringing for a typical farm in Iowa? And they say, well, about $19.50 an acre. And then the next year we go, well, it's up to $3,200 an acre. And then the next year it's $6,000 an acre. And then the next year it's $20,000 an acre. And then 2014, the commodities market and internationally, among other things, just kind of hit the bottom. And, we've been on a down cycle here since 2014 with very few exceptions. I know in my market area, we never got into the funny money stuff, but where we were getting $4,000 and $5,000 for, a 1,500 acre farm, it dropped back down to $3,000. And in my almost 30 years, I've never seen land prices come down in my market. So, but we're getting back there.
It's taken a while, though, hasn't it? I mean,
yeah,
the heyday of the 2004 through 2007 middle of 2007, it was a free for all, and that was the residential market. It was the commercial. It was everything. There was a lot of money around, and it was very, very easy to get, and it was very cheap.
Yeah.
And that combination proved to be very dangerous.
Well, yeah, a lot of
and then 2008 came along, and we were all wondering what hit us. That's actually when I launched the magazine, was at the absolute worst possible time, because I figured if I could make it through the next year or two, then I'm in good shape. And we actually turned a profit in our very first issue, even in that depths of the market. But a lot of that is because I know people like you, and we've known each other for years, and I was leaning on friends a little bit to make sure we had some advertising revenue. But the market is, you know how regional it is. I just got off the phone with a very successful, very, very competent broker up in Montana, Mike Swan at Swan Land Company, and he's just got a new listing that's extremely significant, and the kind of listing that doesn't come along very often. And I don't know the price yet on it because it's all very new, but it's going to be, up in the $40 to $60 million range, no doubt. And there aren't that many buyers for a piece of property like that. So you've got the one extreme, very large ranch in Colorado now at $100 million that Merrill Ranch Group has. It's absolutely stunning, as you'd expect. You've got these outliers. Of course, was it last year, or I suppose it was the year before now, time flies, but the Wagner Ranch sold in Texas for, an undisclosed amount, but not that far off $500 million. And Stan Kroenke bought that. So there are these sort of mega buyers out there, some of which seem to be in a competition to see who can own the most land. But they're not doing it frivolously. They're buying properties that make a lot of sense, that will return, give them a return. And it's a bit like going to a Sotheby's auction house and buying a Picasso. I mean, who knows what it's worth? It's worth what someone will pay for it.
Exactly.
But the one thing you can be sure is if somebody pays $50 million for a Picasso, next time it comes to auction, it will sell for more than $50 million. That's now the value on it. And these properties are like that too. There's just not a lot of them. And when they come up, it's a pretty small pool of buyers, as you can imagine.
right.
That's the extreme. And then we get back down into sort of still at the very high end, you've got that band of properties that sit at around 8 to 14 million, 8 to 16 million in that band, which is a surprisingly large number of listings that are pure recreational. They may have some income, but it certainly isn't going to be enough to cover the costs. They're not what you would consider agricultural. Certainly the Rocky Mountain states see a lot of those. California sees a fair amount of those. That's been a pretty tough market. The stock market is extremely high right now. As everybody knows, it's too high. It's inflated on many levels. I'm certainly no expert, but there's not a lot driving these kinds of numbers. And at some point here, that's probably going to shift because that's what cycles do. And but it is keeping money out of the land market a little bit.
How's that?
Because people are enjoying that wave of, large returns on their money in the market, and they're just trying to time it right. But when it goes, land looks really good. It's the best hedge against inflation.
Oh, totally.
There is. Whether you're buying 10 acres or 10,000 acres. It's a wonderful hedge against inflation, and there's a very real chance now, after the corrections, that you're going to see a price dip. And, you can buy a stock at, $5 a share, and it can go to 50 cents a share overnight. Now, that's obviously dramatic, but it can.
You can.
Land, the most someone is going to lose on a well-bought piece of land is maybe 15%, 20% would be catastrophic, right? Not 95%. So, I think people see, yes, it's not something that's particularly liquid, Might take you a year to get out of it if you needed to and turn it back to cash. But it is a very safe place to be. And I think we're about to start seeing a lot of that money come into the market, preempting, a likely downturn in the stock market.
Are you seeing many foreigners come into the market? More than...
I've spent a fair amount of time with a couple of groups in particular from China that buy at a very high level and have been looking at, a number of properties in that $20 to $50 million range. And they bought one in Northern California and have done good things with it. I think people get nervous about international buyers, but honestly, if you can afford to spend that sort of money, and we're talking about the extremes, you got that money for a reason in the first place, and you're probably pretty savvy and smart. And smart people usually generally make good decisions,
right.
Not all the time. So actually, the international buyers I've been around have all been good stewards of the land, better than people give them credit for, to be honest. And yes, there is international money coming in. It's a safe bet. It's a safe bet, and the Chinese money really was more about repositioning money, not for that particular group, but a lot of people have come here and bought in cities, and in Vancouver, British Columbia, okay, we're in a new country now, but, you cannot buy anything there. The Chinese drove the prices so high there,
right,
that it actually is completely unsustainable, and that is a bubble I wouldn't want to be too close to personally. But generally in the U.S., it's been more on the commercial side and in the cities than in the land.
Other than China, what other countries are we seeing?
You see Russians on the hunting properties. Occasionally, that happens for sure. There's been the Brits buy here. A lot of in the UK, you could have a very productive farm, whether it be for dairy or row crop, with 500 to 3,000 acres. Those are big farms in the UK.
Okay.
It's a small country. But you could have a 500-acre farm, and we do a show in the UK every year. We talk to these farmers, and suddenly, there's somebody who wants to build houses on that farm, and they're selling it by the square foot, and they're suddenly going to have £9 million in their pocket. And £9 million is $13 million. And they see what they can buy for $5 million over here, and they're like, heck, we could farm 8,000 acres over here.
Right.
And put a whole bunch of money in our pockets, and it looks very appealing to the British farmers, the European farmers. So the ones that have the larger farms that have done well can cash out of those farms, come here and own a whole lot more land, and do something different.
Right.
I mean, it's appealing on many levels. So the Brits, the French, let's say the Germans have been pretty active. The Japanese were active at one point, but haven't been for quite some time now.
Well, their market collapsed, so...
But those are the main resources we see coming in.
Interesting.
I think it's reasonable to say that the bulk of this market is not obviously at the $20 million or the 10 or the 8 or the 6 or the 4. The bulk of this market is, between sort of 400,000 and say 1.3, 1.4 million. That's where you'll find the most listings, and that makes sense, of
right.
course. And that market has steadily got better and better and better. And as you've said, you've seen the prices starting to come back, and the interest levels start to increase. And that's really what this market needed. That's where the rubber meets the road on all the way, it has a ripple effect right through, even up to those mega ranches.
Well,
so it's nice to see that part healthy. I think they're able to telecommute. That's not new. It's been going on for a long time. But, I live an awful long way from Houston, Texas, which is where my office is, because I can.
Right.
So it's easier to be rural now than it ever has been. Heck, I even have I'm going to have fiber optic to my place here before too long, and I don't have any neighbors. I don't know why they think that's a good idea, but I'm not even having to pay for the additional. So, there's a lot of opportunities to be remote and to decide on a lifestyle rather than, a paycheck. You can still get a paycheck but also have a lifestyle. And that drives that market. And it drives people back to feeling a bit more self-sufficient. I think we've lost a lot of that in society, but people have noticed, and there's a craving for it again. Back in the 70s, there was that big back-to-lander kind of movement. And we're starting to see, especially in New England, a lot of people moved up to Vermont, places like that, and got little farms, and some of them stuck and some of them didn't. But we're kind of starting to see people want to be more self-sufficient and less affected by the world, and crave that again, and good schools for their kids, and wholesome value stuff. And I think that's very good for this market. And particularly in your part of the world, I think you'll see a lot of people being driven out of by choice, coming out of Atlanta and coming out of D.C. and Charlotte and other places that are fine places to live, but given the choice, Pilot Mountain looks pretty good to me.
Thank you. It's a great place to be. It's true. It's kind of just, if you boil it down, when the economy's good, people have extra money. When the economy's bad, they're struggling to make their mortgage payment, save money for their college educations, maintain a lifestyle, have a payroll if they own a company. And that's kind of what we've been going through for a number of years. But the economy now is turning around. There's more positive attitude. People are getting raises. More people have jobs. All the business reports are very positive. And, that frees up money. That I've been waiting 5 years. I wanted that 50-acre hunting land or recreational land, or, I'm ready to do this. So that's what we're seeing now here in the last couple of years, thank God.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of reports about how, the millennials, they don't want to own anything, they don't want to buy anything, they want to live with their parents, and it's just, not proving to be, it's a stereotype that's not proving to be true. Bloomberg did an article a couple of weeks ago that was really, and it's still on their website, about how, in fact, they're buying like crazy. Yes, they want to own. The American dream hasn't changed.
No.
Right? People still want home ownership. They still want to be vested in the place that they raise their children. So I think we're underestimating that market too. They're better savers than the baby boomers were, or I think mine was Generation X, I think they called it, the one after the baby boomers. But, none of us turned out to be particularly good at saving. This group is very good at saving. They're very organized when it comes to their money, and they have a plan, and that's shocking, really, but great news, and it's good news for this market too. So if you've got a down payment, you're not scraping around for a 0% or a 2% down payment program somewhere where there's some shady bank. You can walk into your high street bank and have a decent down payment on a piece of property, and you can work remotely, and you're interested in, a good school and a more of a small town sort of attitude, then I think that bodes very well for the entry-level part of this market, which is such a critical part of the market. It is in residential, it is at any level. I see good things ahead here. I don't think 2018 and 2019 are going to be the best years we've ever had, but they are going to be a long way from the worst. I can live with.
Yeah.
Stay with me.
Well, it's a good time to invest, and I don't say the word buy. I use land and investment synonymously, and investment is land, and land is investment. And
Lee, it always makes you laugh that people say, "Well, that was, man, I thought I was going to make a bunch of money on that piece of land, and I bought it, and it only went up 4%." And then you look and you say, "Yeah, but you paid paid way too much for it."
Yeah.
This market is driven by good quality, knowledgeable brokers and agents. right? I mean, if somebody walks into your office and they say, I'm looking to spend, $200,000 and I want, 50 acres and a nice house and you don't know what you're doing, perhaps you haven't been associated with RLI or publicity and accredited land consultant and all that comes with that, and your knowledge level is very firmly in residential, which is fine. You might give advice to someone that, oh yeah, this is a great, this is perfect because on paper it looks good. Well,
Right.
What if they overpaid by $20,000?
Yeah.
You didn't necessarily know any better because there aren't any comps because it's not normal for the area, and they probably did only make a few percent on that. If they bought it right because they had good advice, it really is an investment. That's the wonderful thing about land. You're not buying it, you're investing in it.
Yeah.
As long as you buy it right, you're getting good, solid advice from a good, solid, knowledgeable professional.
Well, 2 points there. One reason why you should get involved with the Realtor Land Institute member, and specifically an ALC, because we have the training and the experience. And it's unfortunate, we were talking a little while ago about land education, and when we go to real estate school, in fact, I just had one of my new agents pass her exam today. She called me about an hour ago, and after studying 6 hard months. And, if they spend 30 minutes on land, that's probably exceptional around the country. And other than the Realtors Land Institute, there's no land education. We have the Land U education system for live classes, our 2-day classes, and the 2.5-day on one. And then we have our Land U online classes. But other than that, there's just no other education other than, believe it or not, a 4-hour CE class I created for the state of North Carolina. And David, I think I am the only land instructor in the United States that has a land class at the CE level.
I believe that's true, Lou. Yeah, that's, to my knowledge, you are. There's some cautionary tales out there, too. Recently there was a lawsuit, a real estate agent who was very good at residential, very competent real estate agent, got a shot at a buyer who was looking for something very significant. I think it was like $4.5 million range, and they wanted a horse farm. And she said to herself, well, how hard could that be? I'm going to make a big commission.
Right.
And instead of going out and finding someone that really understood that market, just kind of winged it, well, the lady bought her $4.5 million horse farm, and again, there were no comps in the area. It wasn't a traditional real estate transaction. And only to find out 6 months later that she overpaid by about $700,000.
Yeah, yeah.
And came back and took that real estate agent to court and won.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because they represented that they had the knowledge to handle a deal like that. And it would be like, and some of these top brokers in the land business suddenly finding that, they were going to sell a piece of residential and making the same mistake in the other direction. It's not that they're better, it's just that they have different skills. They're different parts of the industry. And I can't emphasize strongly enough how important it is to work with, if you're buying land, work with a land guy or a land gal that really has that knowledge. Don't just, go the usual route, because they may have your best wishes in mind, but it still may not work out the way you need it to.
Yeah. So caution out there.
Earned, right?
Yeah. Caution out there to the listening audience. This is good advice. It's probably one of the big investments that you would make in your lifetime, and it's matters of consequence. And there's so much to it. It's unbelievable. That's why I have this show. You think you just have one show about land, and that tells everything. It's a little 4-letter word, but it's got a long tail, David. And once you start dissecting that tail, you can get off into forestry, and that's a whole vocation, or soils, or it's
absolutely it is. And you can come unstuck in a hurry if you're not getting the right advice. It's like anything. You probably wouldn't go see an ophthalmologist if you've got something wrong with your foot.
Yeah, and then you got.
It's expertise is earned, and doesn't matter what you're doing. You should be looking for the best source of information and knowledge, and you're probably going to get the best possible outcome. Right.
You got 1031 exchanges, and then you've got investment, retirement plans. that you can roll into self-direct and invest in real estate. There's so much to this.
You get into water rights and mineral rights, and there was a deal a few years ago. Luckily, they had one of the best land brokers I know out west, Michael Landreth, helped him out, and a broker called him, another broker called him, and said, "I'm in the middle of this deal. Can you help me with this contract?" Because it was a land contract, and they were used to residential, and they were about to close on a big piece of property for an awful lot of money. And Michael said, "Well, where's your water report?" And there wasn't one. He said, "Well, you need to talk to, these people. You need to figure this out." And it came back that within 5 years, the county had the right to flood the entire property as part of a reservoir.
Oh my goodness!
Well, that would not have been.
No.
That was not caught.
Oops.
Michael caught it.
Yeah.
That would have been a mess for everybody involved, and it would have been just a mistake. But those are the mistakes you can't make. So when it comes to water rights and access and minerals, especially when you get out west and down into Texas and different areas, Louisiana, you better know your minerals, and you better understand how that could affect the value of a piece of property or the ability for someone else to access your property with all sorts of equipment whenever they want. Surprises can be good and surprises can be bad, and none of those are the good kind.
No, that's true. Just real quick, my grandfather started buying land here in the area, and then later my great-grandfather, and then later my grandfather joined him and had 10 children, mother being the oldest, born in 1911. But between 1909, David, and 1929, they acquired 18 tracts of land, or 18 farms, non-contiguous, but all in that immediate area. And the last tract my grandfather bought was 300 acres on the Fisher River, small river, all wooded tract, and he paid $3,500 for it. In 1929, about $11.78 an acre. That's worth now about $5,000 an acre. Timber's been cut on it twice, plus it was in a county state deferment. Taxes on it's been averaging around $280 a year all these years, or since that program started. And it's fed 10 children, and we're now on almost 5 generations of the property being passed down in the family, and not 1 inch of it's ever been sold. What's wrong with this picture?
Nothing I can think of.
But that's
sounds like a great piece of bunch of good land worth owning to me.
Yeah, and we had the dairy farm and the tobacco and the soybeans and the corns and the chicken houses and and that just has taken care of my mother's family all these almost 100 years, or actually over 100 years. David, we got about 3 minutes left in the show. Give me like 3 takeaways that we want our audience to take away from this show that is part of our conversation today.
Well, I guess I'm a little biased, but I would encourage people, if they're interested, to go check out the website for the cooperative website, whether they're a buyer or a potential seller or just someone who has an interest in the market. It's a great resource, Landbroker MLS. And it will just continue to get better and bigger. There's about 60,000 listings being added to that site over the course of the next few weeks. To some of the largest companies in the country will be sending those listings. So there's a lot happening there. I'd encourage that. I would say don't get out there and start poking around in land until you've figured out who you're dealing with. Find someone who's got the experience and the knowledge base. It will save you money and make everything smooth in the long run. I think that's an important piece of advice, I think. And I think the market's looking pretty good. I mean, these prices will continue to rise. I think certainly through the next couple of years, at some point there'll be a flattening out. If you get in now, you're not getting in at the bottom of the market, but depending on what part of the country you're in, you're getting in in a good spot. There's no question. I mean, prices did go down significantly, and they have come up since, but they've got a little ways to go. So timing is pretty good right now from an investment standpoint if you're working with the right folks. And it's not hard. There's a lot of resources out there to educate yourself as to the best market, depending geographically on where your interest lies. Whether it's recreation or, if you're looking for a rate of an ROI on the property, a rate of return, it's return on investment, it's, that's a big difference between that and a recreational property. If you
Right.
want to hunt and fish, or just spend time with the kids, or move into the country. But I like the timing at the moment. I think it's a solid, stable market, and it is going to continue to climb for a while. And I don't think we'll see any big drops in this market. I think we'll see a leveling out at some point, but there's plenty of room left. And I think those are the big takeaways for sure at the moment. And if you're looking for anything in the $50 million range, and you want to be out in the Rocky Mountains, I know a guy.
Rodney, that sounds like what you've been looking for.
That's right. Or I got one for sale, so they can
We're
sell them that
looking
way.
for that.
Yeah.
Probably none of us can afford it.
Yeah.
Nobody
around here can afford anything.
Places occasionally, and that's the best part of it. To put your boots on the ground and dream a little.
Would you donate your property? That's what we have around here.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, send me a list of donatable properties, would you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get right on that. Trust me, if I had a list of donatable properties, I wouldn't be sending them to anybody. I'd be getting them donated to me. But no, it's a fun industry to be in, and I owe it a lot, and have enjoyed it for many years, and looking forward to many more.
I look forward to it with you,
Slow down
David.
a little bit, but so far so good.
Hey, David, it's been a great honor to have you on the show. I really appreciate it. How do people get in touch with you, real quick?
Email is david@openfences.com.
Okay.
Easiest way to get me, david@openfences.com. If you have any questions, or we're not brokers, we're not agents, we don't get involved in deals, but we're always happy to point people in the right direction if they're looking for something specific out of their area in particular. We love to make those connections, and always happy to try to respond as soon as I can. I get a lot of emails, but I will get back to you, I promise.
Perfect. Rodney, how they get in touch with Lou Jewell? And
Go to our website, WKTE1090.com, and they can click on the Land Pro Let's Talk Land show over there for Lou Jewell. Heard every Saturday morning right here from 7 to 8, and also on our internet. And you have a internet also that they can listen to if they miss the show
That's
on
right.
Saturday mornings.
I've got a website, which is called www.lets, without the apostrophe, letstalkland.net, N-E-T. And that now has 24 shows that have been downloaded with an overview, and currently working on putting all these shows into a podcast format. Coming soon. And, of course, you can go to the radio station. Now, if you like beach music and oldies, we've got an app now.
You can download the Simple Radio app.
Simple
Pick us up
Radio.
anywhere, even up in
Maine.
Maine,
yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Sit out there on the
Okay.
beach and.
Well, we have Ontario listeners,
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure do. But, David, it's been a real pleasure, and thank you.
Well, thanks for the invite. I enjoyed it, and good luck with the show.
Thank you, sir. Really good show.